what's your problem? You can't call nobody? Girl, my probation thing's gonna be all right.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to the Fifth Flow podcast, where we go ahead and actually dive into everything that is about that show, Martin. Loving it. Today, we're going to go ahead and actually go over season 1, episode 3, titled Things I Do for Love. Oh, yeah. This is actually another one that goes and actually gets the show started. We go ahead and actually see some of the beginnings of what's going to go and actually come true in the later seasons that we totally love. But you know how I do. Before I go and actually dive off into examination of the episode, I do want to give you a little bit more of a flavor of where we were in the culture and the world when this episode premiered September 10th, 1992. Now, in the news, we go ahead and actually show that in America, Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush have been nominated and are competing for the presidential race in the upcoming 1992 election. And therefore, they're going to actually start off. But there was a wrinkle in there where they had an independent candidate, Ross Perot, going in and actually running as well, which honestly, we could probably use a third party nowadays. But I digress. In other news, we go ahead and actually have Major League Baseball names Bud Selig interim MLB commissioner. And he goes and actually takes over for MLB, and he actually becomes a very pivotal figure for Major League Baseball. And as a Brewers fan, he actually was owner of the Brewers before that. So I like that little tidbit in there. In the sports world, again, sticking to my Milwaukee Brewers, Robert Yount becomes the 17th MLB player at that time to reach 3,000 hits on September 9th. He wouldn't actually hit that in 1992. So that's just a little bit of flavor of what was actually going on in the world and whatnot. Now, for the culture, I'm going to go ahead and actually tell you about two different things on there. First of all, let's hit up those songs. What were some of the songs that were going on in that time? Number 5, Humping Around by Bobby Brown. Number 4, Sometimes Love Just Ain't Enough by Patti Smith and Don Henley. Number 3, This Used to Be My Playground by Madonna. Number 2, Baby 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 by TLC. And number 1, Steady Holding was End of the Road by Boyz II Men. That's what we had on the music scene. For the movies, we had the top 5 movies are number 5, Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn. Number 4 was Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. Number 3 was Single White Female with Bridget Fonda. Number 2, Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman. And the number 1 movie in America at that time was Honeymoon in Vegas with Nicolas Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, I've given you some of the flavor of what we were going with during the premiere of this particular episode, but let's get into it. Episode 3, titled again, Things I Do for Love, ran on September 10th, 1992, had a runtime of 23 minutes, filmed in the usual Universal Studio 31 in California. It was directed by Tony Singletary, written by John Bowman, Martin Lawrence, and Topper Carew. Here's the synopsis that we have for this bad boy. Tommy's new relationship with his new girlfriend, Denise, prompts Martin to take Gina out for a romantic evening at a dance club called the Savoy Club. Meanwhile, Martin makes insensitive remarks and, as a result, received numerous phone calls from his listeners stating that he isn't romantic enough. Now, this definitely has the flavors of things for Martin and Gina's relationships. So that's what we have. And let's go ahead and actually break down this particular episode. Now, the practical joke aspect of Martin watching, or he was actually talking about him and his cousin back in the day, and basically how he went actually mess with a cousin. And I just love this particular anecdote because we all have that cousin that goes and actually runs and does pranks and all that kind of stuff. And then you go and actually get checked and you go and actually figure out, hey, maybe I should go and actually calm myself down. So this is Martin telling that joke. I loved it. It's just one of those things that, again, Martin's storytelling, these monologues, I wish that he did this in every single episode, but didn't always do it. But here's him going ahead and actually talking about this. Here's some clips from that monologue that he delivers just so effortlessly.
I remember my first practical joke. It was on my cousin Ken. He was outside playing basketball, so I figured, right, I go to the refrigerator, get a bottle of soda, pour some dishwasher liquid in it, play that joke. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, he comes running in the house. He went for that soda. At least he thought it was soda. Pah! Yo, man! As he chuckled like a maniac, he beat me like he didn't know me. As he punched and he laughed and he punched and he laughed and he punched and he laughed. This is when I realized I had the gift to make people laugh.
Now, scene one, we go ahead and actually cut to Martin's apartment where him and Gina, where it actually in the first 3 episodes, you go and actually notice everything surrounds them and opening in their apartment and whatnot. And probably the thing that I would go and actually call out in this particular scene is Martin's wearing the Howard University sweat outfit. It was actually white with red trim on there. And what was actually stand out about this is, again, Martin impacted the culture a lot. This was popular HBCU clothing that the African American College Alliance logo, if you go and actually look on the sleeve of his wear in this particular scene on there, this was very popular clothing that really popularized HBCU clothing in the 90s for a lot of Black folks. And I loved it. Unfortunately, I never had it. I didn't have money to go and actually do like that. I was invested in some other stuff like rayons and all that kind of stuff. But just kind of shows you where things are going. Anyways, in this particular setup, we go ahead and actually see that Martin and Gina are going ahead and actually they're talking to Cole. Cole's talking about he's going to Savoy Club tonight. And then they kind of casually mention that Tommy's in a new relationship with this new chick. And of course, Martin and Cole being his boys and whatnot, sitting up there talking about how he kind of like is a sucker right now, that he's got his nose a little bit open. And of course, we go ahead and actually be like, hey, as kids would go and actually say today, he's being a simp. But even for us back in the day, we'd be like, hey, man, calm down. You ain't got to be following her like the way that you are and whatnot. So, and of course, Gina has the perspective of saying, like, I think it's just so cute that they're in love and all that kind of stuff. So you get the perspective of men, women, what is love? What does that look like? And all that kind of stuff as far as romance. And of course, Cole being Cole, he wants to go ahead and actually, he's getting ready to go to Savoy Club, borrows Martin's jacket. And he's going to go ahead and actually do like that. And there's actually a funny line up in here that I absolutely love of him going actually borrowing that jacket.
Yo, man, this ain't about romance. Don't funk this up tonight with that cheap cologne you be wearing.
Man, don't even worry about it, all right? Listen, I'll bring it back tonight, all right? Or tomorrow if I get lucky.
See you tonight.
Yes. So that's absolutely hilarious, isn't it? So the next scene, we actually go ahead and actually go to Gina's apartment. And again, Martin and Gina are going to go ahead and actually meet up with Tommy and Denise. They're coming on over for a couple's date, which is so cute, right? Go ahead and actually having those memorable dates back in the day, double dating with your baby and all that kind of stuff. And they're doing it here. And I think it was actually kind of cute. But of course, we're going to accentuate some crazy stuff on there. What's actually absolutely hilarious is just they are just all over each other. Now, when we go ahead and actually meet Tommy and Denise, when we first open up the door, they're just kissing on each other. Don't even know that the door is open. Once we go ahead and actually meet it, we now see Denise. And that is how her name is pronounced. Almost sounds like it's a part of a Key and Peele sketch or whatever. That it's not Denise? No, it's Denise. But anyways, introducing Natalie Venetia Belkin as Denise. Now, up to this particular point in her filmography, she only had one role prior to this. It was an unaccredited role in The Cosby Show. But she really got consistent work in the 90s. She appeared in shows like Beverly Hills 90210, Living Single, and Rock. Now, the role I most remember her for is being the woman who was Carlton's first in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. If you remember that episode, you know she turned Carlton out. And that's who Denise is in this one. That's her most famous role, at least for me. Now, in recent years, Miss Natalie Venetia Belkin has become quite a stage actress and has won a Tony Award for her performance in Buena Vista Social Club. So she obviously went on to some very good roles, do some very good work in front of the camera and whatnot. But again, she got my guy Carlton. But anyways, I digress. So in this meeting that they're going ahead and actually having at Gina's apartment where they're meeting up. You kind of see that dynamic of the newly in love couple of Tommy and Denise and the clash of the established couple of Martin being, not quite as romantic and lovey-dovey and as affectionate as Tommy is being with Denise. And of course, that's going ahead and actually playing out here. And I mean, fellas, let's just be real. We're like that, right? You get in a relationship for a long time, what have you. That romance isn't quite the same. Not to say it's non-existent, but it's not that new love type of deal in there. And of course, Tommy and Denise are just way too overplaying it. Like, look here, y'all can get off each other for a few minutes and have a regular ass conversation and whatnot. But anyways, this scene actually just plays out really well of Tommy and Denise and the way that Tommy is. This is kind of like our insight to that. Tommy is one of those cats that falls in love pretty easily. You actually will find out that he has like a whole bunch of women throughout the run of the series and whatnot. And it's just he's just in love with being in love. And of course, Martin being like with showing how Martin's or how Tommy's being super affectionate and things like that. Martin is a little bit just like, oh my God, dude, just calm down. Yeah, a little bit too much with it. But as they start to wind the evening down and they're going ahead and saying their goodbyes and whatnot, Tommy and Denise are getting ready to get on out of there and being all super lovey-dovey, getting out. And of course, Gina and Martin have to have that discussion after they leave of just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful how much in love they are. Meanwhile, my God, Martin is just like, man, look at how Tommy is. And just right here, you could go ahead and actually hear how Martin just feels about it, right?
I just thought that it would be fun to do something different, like go out like Tommy and Denise.
You want to go to maybe the hip hop club or the rock your butt club? You want to do that? No, let's go to your favorite, baby, the Price Club.
You forgot one, Martin.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the man who sleeps all by himself club.
Well, you just make sure I get in free.
And that's exactly what we're looking at, right? Is that men and women, we have two different ways of looking at it about relationships and all that kind of stuff. And hey, it wears on us of, when our guys kind of either make us look bad or maybe our woman thinks a little bit too romantic of things like that. So this is what's playing heavy on there. This is not a lot heavy lifting in these particular scenes on there. There's not a whole lot of comedy. There's not a whole lot of romance. It's a little bit of a dynamic of showing how Martin is different than the average, than Gina is in relationships or what have you. So that's what we kind of see. Now, in the next scene, we go ahead and we're jumping to the radio station. And here what's actually really cool about radio stations that this is all just Martin in the radio station, self-contained. There's no Sean, there's no Stan or anything like that. So it's just Martin and his callers going over what his topic is today of, romance and all that kind of good stuff, right? So I'm going to go ahead and actually break down the callers. Caller number one, John Marshall Jones is caller one. Now, he is actually an character actor with over 100 acting credits to his name. Now, even though he only lent his voice to the Martin Show one time, it's notable that he did because other projects that he went into, he went in and actually it was 51 episodes of Smart Guy, 34 episodes of In the Cut, 41 episodes of The Troop. And for me, his most memorable role was as Walter in White Man Can't Jump. So this is a cat that was out there doing work, and this was like some of his earlier work and whatnot. So that's caller one.
What's the difference between Cupid and the New Year's Eve baby?
Shut up. Next caller.
Caller two is Myra J. Myra J, I went and actually talked about her in my episode 1. So if you want more details on her, she was actually caller number 2. But boom, got her, and she was actually a hilarious one.
Martin, I think you're afraid. I mean, it takes a real strong man to show his soft side.
All right, well, kiss my soft side. Next caller.
Caller number 3 was Lani Chaplin. And now she had played some TV roles, before having this one caller role in Martin on Did the One appearance or what have you. But later she was in China Beach, and then she also played a memorable role of Miss Shaw in an episode of Wonder Years. Wonder Years, one of my favorite shows of the 90s. It may not be beating Martin, but it's actually one of my shows that really impacted me. But anyways, Lanai appeared in a bunch of roles after Martin, and most notably, she appeared in 23 episodes of Space Above and Beyond and started alongside Whoopi Goldberg in Rat Race in 2001. So those are some things that caller number 3 had.
Martin, I don't think your problem is romance. It sounds to me like you're not really in love.
Hey. Don't talk like that. I'm in love. I loves my baby.
Well, do you compliment her? Do you bring her flowers? Do you take her out?
Hey. No, this is my show. I ask the questions here. All right? Do your feet stink? I'm sure they do. Next caller. What up?
Caller number 4 is Jane Milmore, and she lent her voice in 4 episodes of Martin, including this one, obviously. And then she appeared on camera once in episode number 15. So maybe we'll hit that one up when that comes along. She had a handful of acting credits, but her career was really shaped behind the camera. She had multiple writer and producer credits, and she won both a People's Choice and an NAACP award for Martin. Unfortunately, she did pass away from pancreatic cancer in 2020. So rest in peace, Jane Milmore, who was caller number 4.
You know, Martin, if you really love your girl, what's the big deal to do something special for her once in a while? I had a man just like you, and I kept asking him for a little romance. Took me a while, but I finally got it from someone else.
Girl, please. He probably didn't like you anyway. So.
Now, the last thing I want to point out here is the jingle singer in this particular episode. So this little jingle that Martin is going to go ahead and actually play. This is Tracy Coley, and he played in a couple small roles during the Martin series. And then he also had roles in shows like the Jamie Foxx Show, In the House, and Wayans Brothers. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2002 from complications after surgery. Not her. He did. I apologize. But passed away in 2002 from complications after surgery. So sad to hear another person that contributed to Martin passed away. But the jingle is actually absolutely hilarious. And you guys are going to go and actually hear it. I'm going to turn it up so you guys can go and actually hear that.
I got to move on to a commercial. Boom. Today's sponsor is Shiny Tiny's Barbecue. Their motto is, you need no teeth to eat my beef.
Come down to Shiny Tiny's, don't leave grandma at home. Meat so soft and tender, she can suck it off the bone.
All right. Now let's go ahead and actually go to probably what is the apex of this particular episode, and that is being at the club. Now, Gina and Martin go and actually walk into the club together, all decked out. Gina looking really good in their dress. I don't know about the hair that she's sporting, but the dress looking really good. Now, that very beginning, if you go ahead and actually are watching the episode, that first person that you go ahead and actually see that interacts with Martin and tells him to go and actually park his Porsche or whatever for him, that is Bentley Kyle Davis, who actually played in a voice in a previous episode of Martin. But now seeing him in front of the camera, most Martin folks will go ahead and actually know him in an episode that is in the DMV, and he's titled in that episode Titus the Hairdresser from DMV. And if you can't think of who he is as a Martin fan, Almond Brown. Yep, that's the same dude playing that same deal there. So definitely want you guys to go ahead and actually know that and get that pointed out, because absolutely hilarious. Obviously, as we go ahead and actually take a look at the club, of course, Martin is going and actually being very possessive of Gina because she's looking good and all that kind of jazz on here. But the biggest thing to go ahead and actually point out is that, hey, everybody's just having a good old time. Folks gonna look at Gina because she looking good, and the usual club shenanigans ensue on there. Whether you're talking about people looking at her, people bumping up against them. You go ahead and actually talk about the drink scenario, just all kinds of stuff that would happen when you try and have a romantic date at the club. I don't know who's trying to have a romantic date at a club, realistically. Again, this is Gina going ahead and actually over romanticizing the club thing because of seeing like Tommy and Denise having, their little special things and whatnot.
He really likes her. Why is he taking her to the club? I never understood why a brother takes their lady to a club. That's like going out for hot dogs when you got steakums at home.
But that's one of those things where you're just like, nobody's going to the club for romance. But as you continue on, we run into Cole. Cole is going ahead and actually being his romantic self, and his romantic self is, being a little too forward and aggressive with women and whatnot. So, he's not going to have one of those nights that really going to be doing anything, right? As we go and actually continue on with the bar scene here, one of the people that come over and says wants to go ahead and actually sit at the table with Martin and Gina, and then they rebuff him, and it's like, hey, can I just sit my drink down or whatever? You might go and actually recognize that as James Leisure. And as far as I can go and actually tell on his filmography, this was his first accredited role in a TV or movie, but it definitely was not his last. Having over 60 credits to his names, he's found consistent work throughout the years. Most known for his roles as Mel Ellis in For Your Love, as Gibbs in Man at Work, and most recently playing Carter Hope in The Rookie Feds. But for me, he's always going to be Mike Cannon from the show Las Vegas. I loved him in that show. That was totally awesome, and that's where I know him from. So just a nice little shout out again, Martin, go ahead and actually give it another start to more people in the industry or what have you. Of course, I'd be remiss to go ahead and actually not mention that in this particular scene, we get introduced to someone who becomes a fairly big player in the Martin universe, and that is Martin dressed as Jerome Romy Rome. Of course, his first appearance on there, coming up in the room. Let's go ahead and actually see what he says. That's right, because that's who Jerome is. Dry perm, short set, calf socks, yuck mouth, all the playalistic type of things going on there. I will just go ahead and actually say anybody that is a Martin fan knows who Jerome is. He's just as synonymous with the Martin show as Shanae is. So one of those characters that we go and actually first meet, and he just gets funnier and funnier as the series goes on. But this was his official debut in episode 3 in season 1. So, of course, he's going to go ahead and actually figure out himself to go ahead and actually flirt with Gina a little bit while Martin is at the bar trying to get a drink. Of course, Jerome gets in a couple of his quintessential player lines.
Name is Jerome, but you can call me JJ because everything is dynamite. I know your name. Your name must be Candy because you look so sweet. Give me a bite of that candy.
And of course, Gina is going to go ahead and actually rebuff him like she would. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing for this particular scene, as Jerome goes away and goes and pursues another woman and whatnot, and Gina and Martin get into the little dance thing, realize they can't really have the romance thing, and they agree to get up out of there because what's the point of going and actually having a romance if y'all not really together and everything is all loud and all that kind of stuff. Closing out the whole club scene here for me is absolutely hilarious. Watching the club scene when you see in the background after everybody's like, when they're just getting ready to dance and get up from the table, look at those people like in the back. There's like a dude with like some lime green pants on and a dude with the hat turned to the back. Those cats had me dying. Because they're extras, they're trying to put in there all, and they just, no, for whatever reason, they crack me up. If I can find a picture, I'm going to show it to you right here. If I can't, it's going to be okay. But if you're watching episode 3, you got to, while Gina and Martin are at the table, or when Gina's talking to Jerome and telling him to get up out of her face, on there, just look at in the background and look at the guy with the hat back and lime pants on it. They're just going to be hilarious to you. Absolutely. Now, last scene is really just both of them chilling back at Martin's. Obviously, the one thing that I did forget to go and actually say at the end of the closeout at the club scene was that Denise went ahead and ended up with Jerome. I don't know how that happened because they were there for like all of like 3 minutes or what have you. But Denise went off with Rome, and so uh, Martin or Tommy's a little depressed and all that kind of stuff. So Gina and Martin go back to Martin's apartment, kind of talk about it of, the fact of between love and lust and all that kind of stuff. And they appreciate that they have each other. And it's a nice little cute thing on there. And that is the end of episode number 3. So cute. We got it. We're done. What are my thoughts with episode number 3? This is probably, if I go ahead and actually talk about it all, it's like this. For the writing, there was some pretty good accurate of how some of the guys are very obtuse in relationships and all that kind of stuff. The fact that they got back to Tommy's situation at the end of it means that they really kind of thought it out at the end. And there were quick hits of issues that couples run into at the club, all just kind of ridiculousness for being at a club, right? Bad writing aspect of it is like the monologue had nothing to really do with this episode, so I was just kind of like, what was the tie-in with that? It was kind of weird. The fact that they did not put Pam, Stan, or Sean really kind of shows up in this episode. If you watch for the rest of the episodes, one of those 3 people are going to be in there for the rest of season 1 or what have you. They help punch up the comedy and all that kind of stuff. And then like the radio station thing, it was almost like it was just thrown in there just to kind of pad the runtime, even though the callers were actually probably the second funniest bit in this particular episode. Just kind of seems like it was just like thrown in there for runtime. So the writing was a little different. For acting, I think Gina was good for girlfriend material in this one. I liked her character in this. Martin for his main character, and the fact that he played Jerome really well becomes a good character on there. The fact that Cole was not given much to work with, his was not funny, so it was kind of like a throwaway type of deal. And then the Tommy and Denise thing, while they look good as a couple, they're over the over affection thing and stuff like that. Just kind of like that didn't work for me. Overall, this one was, out of your first 3 episodes of season 1, this was probably the weakest one. Just the best things about it was the introduction of Jerome. The club scene is funny if you kind of watch some of those background characters; those are hilarious. But other than that, the writing was blah. There wasn't very much comedic moments or anything like that. So definitely the weaker of the series, or at least the first 3 episodes, what have you. But still, it was still Martin, right? So we still love it like the rest of them. This will probably be in this realm of like Martin's. It's probably going to be like in the it's going to be in the lower tier because there's obviously some funny episodes that happen. But still love it. That was episode number 3. Things I Do for Love. And yeah, that's it. That's my full examination. That's my analysis, everything like that. Tell me, what do you guys love about it? Do you have any comments, likes, anything like that? Go ahead and actually hit the like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff on there. But I am going to be done. I am going to get out of here. I love you guys. Be back for the 4th episode. And until that time, you know what you got to go ahead and actually do.
I've been waiting to say this all year, and I'm going to say it. And this is a good time. Get the stepping. Now, don't you feel tough?
Yeah.
Don't you feel strong?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like going home?
Sure. Yeah.
Then get the hell out of my apartment and take
Back up a taste? Just a taste. Just give me some room.
Hey.
Okay, the door's gonna slam about now.